in a big bowl of salad, and dinner guests are going to be in awe of it all because at the end of it I tell them they've only probably had about 5 grams of fat, so they're really happy with that. Different story when I go to an Indian restaurant though and eat the tikka chicken there. So when I look at the dining out things, let's just start with the don'ts. Like, what should we avoid? Now, the first one is don't go starving. Now, this is a really important tip, and it's number one on the don'ts, because the worst thing you can do is starve all day because you think, oh, I've got this big dinner tonight. Starve yourself, and you walk in and you're going to eat even the tablecloth. You're so hungry. And this is important for you to be able to go in there with some control over your food choices, because what you do is you sit there, you devour the bowl of bread, then you order an entree, you order a main, then you go to dessert, and you know that you've eaten way more than you really should have had, but you were just so hungry you just ordered up. Like often we order, you know, because we're so hungry, not realising that we'll soon get satisfied as we go along with the meal choices that we make. So don't go starving, because the idea is, you know, if you have a little snack before you go, this will really help you, and I'll talk a bit about that later in the do's. But the one thing you don't want to do is walk into that restaurant or that function you're going to where you're eating food from other people that other people are making really, really hungry, because often you find it very hard to resist. Now, number 2 is don't use this as an excuse to just go for it. You know, you say, it's Saturday night, I've been good all week, I don't care, I'm going to eat everything that I want and I'm going to order up and be fabulous. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that, you know, it's amazing how much weight you can put on or how many calories and that you can consume in one meal. And so you might be great all week and then you just blow it all just in that one night. And, of course, if you're looking at a weight control program and you're weighing yourself every week, this can be something that could really dishearten you and maybe think twice about whether you're going to continue. So you don't want to do that. I found that, you know, there's lots of reasons why we go out to eat, and we'll talk about that in the do's, but just don't have that attitude of, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. I mean, what I would suggest is you take your good intentions with you, as well as your credit card, because you know it's going to cost you a fortune when you go out to eat these days. We went out to dinner the other night at this beautiful seafood restaurant, and I'm glad that my husband was paying for it, because you know, the seafood was divine, but it was really expensive. And that's the thing, you know, it is a treat to go out, but don't treat it as if it's like a big reward for you and you just go for it, because that's a real problem when you're looking at weight loss as well, because you just overconsume, you eat more than you really should. And the other thing is you'll be uncomfortable. I remember actually leaving Sizzlers once with my kids. I'll never forget it. Years and years ago, they still talk about it, where I was so full after Sizzlers, and this is when, of course, Annette was 100 kilos and not the healthy person I am today. I ate so much at that buffet at Sizzler that I could hardly turn the car to get out of the car park. I was so full. Now, that's not healthy. I mean, that's crazy. And I mean, it showed that I wasn't making healthy choices because I was 100 kilos and getting fatter every day. So this is a big one. Don't use this as an excuse. So number 3, for all you little drinkers out there, don't drink too much alcohol. Now, when you're out to eat, you know, you think, well, a few wines won't matter. But what I find is the problem with that is that when you go out, you just relax, have a few wines, you know, maybe this and whatever, a port at the end of the, you often lose that discipline and control that you had possibly if you hadn't been drinking too much. A lot of times when we go out, whether it's even just going out just for drinks with friends and that, it can lead to you coming home and forgetting all those commitments that you had to your healthy living, and, you know, grab, you know, fish and chips or pizza on the way home because you've had a few drinks, you just lose that, oh, well, you get that I don't care attitude. The other thing that with alcohol is that it's full of calories, lots of sugar, lots of calories, and believe it or not, now, this may shock a few of you, but there's nothing nutritional in alcohol. Yes, I know, it's amazingly ridiculous. But what it is it's just lots and lots of calories. Our body doesn't need anything in the wine or in the spirits or in the beer. Whereas, you know, when you eat proteins, like, you know, have chicken or fish, that's a good thing for our body to have, and we do need proteins. Whereas, believe it or not, We don't have to drink alcohol. It doesn't serve any purpose apart from numbing our feelings or going to brain freeze. I mean, I haven't had an alcoholic drink in years. Truly, I'd rather eat my calories. Gail's come in here and said, Dan, there goes my excuse for drinking. Yeah, you know what? It is something you need to look at. If you're looking at weight loss, and I know I had a great talk with you yesterday, Gail, this is something that we need to look at and get it into that in controlled amounts. So what I say to people with alcohol is try and have more alcohol-free days in the week than with it. When you go out to a restaurant or you're out drinking with friends, like you go out to, just a casual dinner or whatever, I always say to people, and this is what I did in the early days when I was losing my weight before I decided, you know what, I'm not going to bother drinking, I'd rather eat. What I would do is I would drink water when I first got there, because often you're actually really thirsty when you arrive at a restaurant or an event. You've been rushing to get ready and whatever, and you probably haven't had much to drink before you go, like with water or whatever. So I would start with maybe some water or a diet soft drink. I'm not a huge fan of soft drink, but I mean, if that's going to help you with the dinner, then that's okay. And then when the meal comes, that's when I'll probably have like 1 or 2 wines, and I used to always mix it with some soda water or mineral water so that it would just stretch a bit further. And then, once the meal's over, I'd go back to the water or the soft drink or get a skinny cappuccino or something like that, a cup of tea afterwards. And I think that is the best way to go. Now, Leslie said to me here, a question here, thank you, Leslie, I thought that 1 glass of red wine was good for the antioxidants. Well, it is. But, there's lots of things that have got antioxidants in them. So, yeah, if you can control 1 glass of wine and you're not going to have any more, then that's fine. And really, that is the key to everything, Leslie, is moderation. There's nothing that I would say to you, don't have it. But can you just do it in moderation? Because that is very important. When we overconsume certain food groups or if we have a lot of alcohol in our diet, it really will show on the calories, and you can get quite puffy with drinking a lot of alcohol because of the sugar and the gas in it as well, depending on what it is you drink. So, number 4, don't add bread to the meal. Most times when people go out now, they seem to always start with bread. I don't know why that's happening, but they do. I'm not a real fan of it, mainly because I don't like a lot of wheat myself, so maybe that's why that is. But I think that bread is a waste of calories when you're out to eat, and it's often just because you're really hungry. So maybe eating something before you go, like have an apple or something to just take that hunger straight off. If you are going to have bread, then have it plain. Don't have it with the garlic bread or the herbal bread or the pizza bread, loaded with fats, not ideal for anyone that's wanting to lose weight or be healthy. There's more to eat with the meal, like the chefs are going to serve bigger portions anyway, so you're going to have plenty to eat. So if you can, I would avoid the bread where possible. Now, Sizzler has the cheese bread, I know, Gail, and if you want to budget that in, I used to go and I used to work that into my program if I wanted to have it, or I would have half a slice. I'd cut it in half and give half to my husband and just have half. But I did find that as I got used to not eating bread a lot, that it didn't bother me, but then that's up to you. It's all about choices, isn't it? When you go out, I'm here to just give you some tips, give you some support, give you some information, and you're going to do with it what you want, aren't you? Number 5, don't be tempted. And what I mean by this is don't be tempted to order all these great things and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that. Don't be tempted to order too much, because it will, you won't be able to eat it all. And if you do, you're going to feel uncomfortable afterwards, because how many people want to waste food when you've had to pay for it? Don't be tempted by having the wrong type of foods. Try and, as I said, take your good intentions with you and go into that dining out experience thinking, well, look, it is a meal. It's not my last supper. It's not like I'm never going to go out again. Just make sure you're realistic about it and your expectations of what it is. Number 6 is don't order fried food that is covered in creamy sauces. I mean, look, these two things are really important. If you're ordering lots of fried food, you know that it's going to be high in fat, and that's not going to work for you with your weight loss. What I find with fried food as well is that often it's covered in, a batter or crumbs so that the fat is absorbed into the food. Like onion, for example, has got no calories, but onion rings, big difference. So when you're looking at the menu, so just imagine we're looking at the menu now. What I would suggest you go for is food that, as I said, that isn't deep fried, because you're going to feel better for it. I find it can be very heavy and greasy, and you feel uncomfortable afterwards. Now, Judith, you've come on and asked a good question actually. When at a buffet restaurant, what is the best choice? Would it be the seafood or the roast? Look, I think both of those are actually quite good, Judith. The roasts normally, because they've just roasted them in the oven, so they're probably really good to eat. My only concern there is they cut it quite thick, so I would say to them at a buffet thing, can you please cut my roast meat thinly, because you don't want to have this big chunk of meat, and so you're eating probably 150 grams or 200 grams of meat, and then you're going to have lots of other stuff as well. So once again, I'm going to use that word eating in moderation a lot here tonight. Seafood is fantastic. I'm actually going to get to that in the do's, so we'll talk a little bit about seafood then, but I think both of those are good, Judith, so they're great choices to pick up. Now going back to tip 6, because we're talking about the food that's covered in the creamy sauces. Now you'll get this a lot in French restaurants, Italians, like they cover a lot of things with cheese and Mornay type things. I'm really concerned about these because normally chefs love to cook with lots of butter. They've never heard of Flora-Light margarine, I'm sure. They use cream in everything. I mean, if you've been watching the cooking shows, you can see now how bad it is with what they do. They look lots of salt, lots of sugar in lots of things. So we've got to be careful when we dine out, because we really aren't in control in the kitchen, which I'm okay with that. I like to eat out because it means I've had a break from the kitchen, but we've also got to realise that these chefs aren't going to do it the healthy way like we do. And so think about the creamy sauces, because they're normally based, as I said, with cream, butter, often a lot of salt. I would go with tomato-based sauces. That would be my suggestion here for you if you're at an Italian restaurant or whatever. Go for ones that are just got a lighter sauce to them. And now what have you got here? Someone's just said in, Christine, you've said if we need to eat 3 meals per day, I do own delivery, and often after 4 days behind the wheel, my esky looks a bit thin and end up eating 3 meals per day takeaway for the last 2 days. Yeah, look, I think that when you're eating away and you've got a lot of dishes out, eating out a lot, you need to look at the healthier places to eat. So we will get back into, Christine, when we get into the do's, that's going to come, and we'll also going to talk about Chinese that you've mentioned there as well. So let's move on to number 7. Now this is don't order Caesar salad. Look, you know what, just because it's got the word salad at the end of it doesn't mean that that is your healthy choice, because the problem with Caesar salad is the only healthy thing about it is the lettuce. Because what happens is Caesar salad is basically fried bread, anchovies, which are very high in salt. They have egg, which is, a bit fatty. You have fried bacon, and then you have a very rich mayonnaise dressing to go over the top, and then they sprinkle Parmesan cheese over it. So you can see that poor little lettuce laying in the bottom of the plate is really carrying a heavy load, and the problem is that heavy load's going to go onto your hips and your thighs. So just because it's got the word salad next to it doesn't mean that it's a healthy choice. So please be careful with Caesar salads. I think that they're something that you've got to realise if you're going to have it, then add lots of fat to your day, knowing that that's what that will be. And that's why I've made so many of these recipes in my cookbooks for you. I think in book 1 it is, where I do a low-fat Caesar salad for you, because I didn't want to miss out. Thank you, Laura. She says she loves the Caesar salad. And she added chicken to it. Actually, I love the Caesar salad out of book 1 with the chicken as an option instead of the bacon. I love it too. And the dressing on my Caesar salad is amazing, because I actually plagiarised that recipe from my husband, Bill, who is a master chef. And people used to come to his restaurant for his Caesar salad because of the dressing. So I picked it to death and made a low-fat version of it. So that's why it's so great. Let's go to number 8 now, because we're in the don'ts, and I want to get to the do's shortly. Don't justify why you deserve to have dessert. You know, sometimes we'll get there and go, you know what, I have been good all week, and so I'm going to have dessert. Or, you know what, I don't care what you say, I'm having dessert. You know how, look, I've been there, done it, you know that. That's why I weighed 100 kilos, and I've never forgotten how I felt in those days when I was that big in it. But I also look at how I changed my life for the better. And part of these tips that I'm giving you are all things that I did to myself. Truly, you've got to think about whether the dessert is worth it. Judith's come on and said, Dratz, that's the only time I have dessert. Now, you know what? My answer to that is, just because I'm saying, you know, like, don't justify it, that you deserve it, I'm not saying you don't have dessert, because I think that that's one of the things that is nice about going out. I agree with you, Judith. So what I suggest is look for the healthiest option there, and if there isn't any, because often it's not, then I used to share it with my husband, who is a real sweet tooth, and he was happy to eat half of mine. And I can remember once going out, and I was a big cheesecake fan. And I remember ordering a cheesecake, and we shared it. And I remember after about 2 or 3 spoonfuls, I went, you know what? I'm not loving this, Bill. You can have it. Now, if I'd had the whole thing, I might have just eaten it because I hate waste. But for me, it was about just having something. Plus, as well, I hate being told I can't have anything. So if you say to me, okay, you can't have dessert when you go out, then I'm going to really want it. Anyone relate to that here? I bet you're saying yes, Annette, I agree. A lot of comments coming in now. Simone is saying that she ate the baked cheesecake for Sweets Night out of my book. It was yum. And that's the great thing, isn't it? You can make all these beautiful things at home, but it's when you go out that you're faced with the realization that you haven't got my low-fat recipes looking for you. But can I just say, for anyone living on the Sunshine Coast, if you really do want to go out and have my recipes, that the Caloundra RSL Club, and if you're visiting to the Sunshine Coast at any time, guys, put this in your memory bank, because Caloundra RSL actually have my recipes on their menu. They have got a Simply Too Good to Be True menu. Can you believe this? How wonderful are they? And so you can actually go out to dinner there and do it. I mean, look, one day, wouldn't it be great if there was Simply Too Good to Be True restaurants all over Australia? Diane's over there laughing away going, yes, Annette, that would be awesome. But anyway, that's maybe a wish list that we can all think about later. Thing with the desserts, pick a healthiest option if you can. Try not to have cream with it if you can, because that's going to really be high. And if it doesn't need it, don't have it just because it's there and the chefs have put it on the plate. Share it with a friend. Or the other option is order a skinny cappuccino. Skinny cappuccinos are often all you need to have that little treat at the end of the dinner. So it's sweet, it pacifies that, and it's a bit of a treat. I like what Gail's just put in, Annette's Biggest Loser show. Oh my gosh. We wouldn't do The Biggest Loser, would we? We're not big fans of that show at the moment. So now, okay, let's go to number 9. Don't eat really late in the night. So if you're going out to dinner, don't book in for a 9 o'clock dinner, because that's crazy. You're going to be so uncomfortable when you go to bed trying to have all that food laying in your tummy. So, you know, the earlier you eat when you dine out, probably the better, so your body's got time to get rid of it. Now, number 10, don't think that the meal servings are normal. Now, this is another thing about chefs. They will put more on their plate because, you know, you're paying probably $30 for the meal, so they want you to feel like you're getting value. Because don't you hate it when you go out to a restaurant and you get this tiny, skimpy little meal and it's all very pretty, but there's no food there. So you want to have value there with your dollars, but don't just fill up. You know, I don't want them to fill up their plates just for the sake of filling up. So just remember, portion sizes are not normal when you go out. You'll have a bigger service steak. You'll have more food than you normally would ever put on your plate, probably at home. And Anne has come on and made the comment, can you ask for half service? Absolutely. So let's get to the do's, because that's something I can talk about, Anne, a little bit more. Okay. So now the do's for dining out. This is the things that I want you to do, okay? So first of all, the one is cut down your food intake. Now, what I mean by this, guys, is that when you're going out to a restaurant, like we went out Saturday night, I was at a conference all day and we had to go and have lunch. This was last Saturday. And we went out and I thought, I can't eat a big lunch because I'm going out to dinner. I didn't want that. So I was searching for somewhere. We found a nice cafe and I just had a big bowl of salad. It was fabulous. I loved it. But other people sitting around me were having hamburgers and chips, fish and chips. And I thought, I can't eat that and then go out for dinner that night with that as well. So what I find I do if I'm going out for dinner and I want to make sure that I'm still keeping within, especially when you're looking at weight loss and you're trying to manage your maintenance level as well, I think it really helps if, say, a day or two before you go out, that you just cut down a little bit on your calories and your fat, and maybe even a day or two afterwards to help balance it out. So when I say cut down your food intake, it's mainly just to help balance if you're going out. That way you can have a nice night. Don't worry about it too much, so to speak. If you just make a few just healthy choices along the way, and then you're not going to find when you get on the scales that you've bunged on 2 kilos and you'll be all upset. So it's about planning ahead. Number 2 is have a small snack before you go to the restaurant. Now, I did touch on that briefly in the don'ts, where I said have an apple before you go out, or just something before you go to take that real hunger off your tummy, because, you know, when you're really starving, as I said, you're going to binge when you get there and you're going to order everything you can. So I find that just having that little bit of something before you go out, even just a bit of hummus, when I sometimes go and have a little bit of hummus and some carrot sticks, just so to take that edge off it, because we know when we're booked for dinner at 7:30, you're probably not going to be eating possibly till 8:30, which is quite a bit of a time to go. Christine's come on and said that she's loving the Thai chicken or minestrone soup. Fantastic. And soups are actually probably a good choice if you're wanting something as an entree. But the only problem with the soups with chefs is when it's cream of. So when you see it cream of chicken or cream of leek and bacon or whatever, you know that's going to be very high in fat because it's got that word cream in the front. So I always check if there's cream in the soup when I order it, because I think that it really is something that I would avoid as a starter because it's just too rich, too fatty. Number 3, talk to the waiter and ask good questions, and that's what I'm leading into by talking about the soup. I am a nightmare for any waiter. Oh yes, I'm going to make them earn their money. And of course I will give them a lovely tip at the end so they'll love me in the end. So what I want to do here is really focus on the fact that you are paying for this meal, right? You have a right to ask questions. You have a right to say how you want your meal. Now, if they're a qualified and really clever chef, they're going to do whatever you want within reason. And I've only gone to maybe 1 or 2 restaurants in my entire life of being a healthy Annette where a chef's come back and said, no, we only do it exactly what's on the menu. And of course, you know what? Never been back there again. Absolutely. So I'll give you an example about what I do, and you know, you might find this helps you. So when I'm asking, for example, if it's a soup, could you find out if there's cream in it? Because it might say pumpkin soup. It doesn't say cream of pumpkin, but it just says pumpkin. And so they'll go off to the chef if they don't know. Some of them will know, but if they don't, come back and say, yes, there's cream in it. So then you know, okay, forget that. If they don't, then you go, great, this is a great soup option to start the restaurant meal. I also ask them what comes with things. Like, for example, I'm ordering a meal, what do I get with it? Because a lot of times you won't see the food that you're going to get until you get it. So ask, what do I get with it? I find chips are really hard to resist when they're served on the plate and they're looking in front of me and I'm hungry. So if I'm trying to be super controlled and super fabulous, I will tell the waiter, if there's chips, don't put them on the plate, because I find that easier to not be faced with that decision. If it's not there, I'm not going to eat it. So the other thing that I really like about asking questions is there's no surprises, and when you get it you go, oh, I wish I thought to ask because that's not real good. I don't like salt on food, so I will say to them, please do not put salt on any of my food. Yeah, it's basically get what you want, you're paying for it, you have every right. So number 4 is start with water or a diet soft drink. Can I just remember we talked about the alcohol? I just wanted to bring that up again in the do's because it's really important that you look at filling up on the water or the diet soft drink and then filling up on all alcohol during your dining out. Now, Jodie's come on, why is salt bad? And that's a good question, Jodie, because salt is very not a healthy thing for our heart So if you've got any heart problems, if you've got a high cholesterol, things like that, hypertension, you need to have a low salt diet, especially diabetics. Now, they need to look at that as well. But I like it because it's really a healthy choice to have a low salt diet. And Judith, you're really right with your comment, and it retains fluid. I always think low salt is the way to go. It's a much healthier choice, Jody, so try and embrace that if you can. Now, what do I order when I go out? Okay, number 5 is I often will order 2 entrees instead of 2 courses. And sometimes this is what I do at lunchtime. If you're going out for lunch and you do want to, it's fun to have 2 courses. You don't want to just have the main and be done with it. So I'll either pick an entree main or main dessert. I've got to tell you, I mainly go with entree main, but I know when a lot of the people I go out with, I'm the only one that's ordering an entree because they all want dessert. But I'm not a big fan of desserts anymore. I've just sort of deprogrammed the little skinny Annette here not to really want desserts, which is pretty good. Okay, Judith, no problem that you go for main desserts. It's up to you. The thing is, if you do entree, main, dessert, that's way too much and overload. So what I do is I'll order a cold entree. So I'll have a cold entree, then I'll go for the main as a hot entree, and then I'll add with that a serve of vegetables or salad on the side. You know, as an extra serve, I buy that as well. So that it means that my main meal is going to be fleshed out every one. I'm going to get more because obviously entree sizes are often smaller. If you're having main and a dessert, this is where you'll you know, order a hot entree and order maybe like I did, the salad or the vegetables on the side as an extra, and then you order your dessert. And often check with the desserts, if you don't want the cream with it, or if you don't want the ice cream to add it with it because it's enough with what it is, then tell them not to put it on. I like number 6 because I put this here because this is what I do. When I go out for a meal, the majority of the time I'll order grilled fish. I just don't think we can ever eat enough fish. It's so good for you, as you know, and it's just nicer when someone else cooks it. I always say to people, you know what, if you're ever unsure, go with the fish. Fish of the day, grilled. I'm not talking battered or crumbed fish that's deep fried, I'm talking grilled. And, you know, often they might have a sauce with it, and so we'll get to that next. But really, fish is a great lean one, and it's fantastic, you know, to enjoy with a big salad or some nice veggies. Now, Anne's come on and said, what about the chips? Well, what I've done in the past is sometimes I want a few chips with it, so I'll order the chips. Remember what I said before? I hope you're listening. Don't have chips on the plate. Tell your waiter if you don't want them. But what I'll do sometimes, I'll have them, I'll take a few, like a small handful for myself, because I know I just want to have a few, and then I give them to my husband because he's a skinny mini, he doesn't care. Or I pass them over to anyone else that maybe didn't get any chips. So that's the way to go with that. But the next one's a good one because it's really about those sauces that maybe are on the fish or on the steak or the chicken. If the dish has a sauce with it, order it on the side. Don't have it covered, swimming in it when you get it out from the kitchen because chefs love to just cover everything with the sauces. If it's to the side, then you can add how much you like or how little as you want. You're in control. And this is the thing, you've paid for it, you're going to pay the price afterwards as well. They're not going, the chef's not going, don't care. Have as much as you like or as little as you want. And same with salads. If you've got a salad and it's got a dressing on it, because chefs love to do the oily vinaigrettes and whatever dressings, get that served on the side. So once again, you're in control and you get to put it on it. Now I'm going to take a little sip of my cup of tea here. Just hold on a minute, everybody. All right, next one, and I've touched on it before, but I'm saying it again. Let's talk desserts. Share it. Really, it works. Just share it so that you get half each, so you're saving half the calories, but you're still getting that sweet thing, and it's fabulous. Otherwise, if you really wanted to be disciplined, then ask for a fruit plate, because a lot of chefs will do that for you. I exaggerate sometimes. Look, I am so allergic to all this sort of food, I can only eat fruit. So they go their way to get you something. I know it's probably a little bit of a lie. My tongue's black for a week, but who cares? At least I got my nice little fruit and I didn't have to put any calories on. So share your dessert. And think about the dessert as well. What is it that you really would like to have that you know that is still maybe a little bit healthier on the choice than others. And that's the one you go with. Number 9 is increase your activity level. Now, remember before I talked about, cutting down a few days before, a few days afterwards? I think exercising is another great way to give yourself the chance to burn off those extra foods that you've eaten when you've gone out for dinner. Now, I found when I went out to dinner, if I didn't do all these few things, I would gain weight that week. I worked so hard all week to lose my weight, and bang, one meal out and you're back to square one for that week. And I wasn't happy about that. I was on a mission to lose my weight and get it off forever. So I didn't want things like that delayed it. So I always think that if you can do things like this, it's really clever. Now, Marguerite's asked about a low-fat creme brulee. Chefs have no idea about that, but hello, Annette Sim, I'm fabulous. I've done it in book 5. So you've got a creme brulee that's low-fat, Marguerite, but of course you can't go out to the restaurant and get it. But you can make it at home. It's fantastic. So increase your activity levels, folks, so that maybe up your walking, do a little bit more of a time, where you commit to it, leading up to it or after it. So that's important. Last one is going out for a meal is not all about the food. Now, this is really something that I discovered, and I hope you'll really listen to this, because when you go out for a meal, and when I was 100 kilos, it was all about the food. It was fantastic. I would tuck into as much as I could. I loved every minute of it. But the Healthy Annette realised that that wasn't going to work, because, as I said before, I didn't want to gain weight the weeks that I went out for dinner. And if you're a person that goes out to 2 or 3 times a week, you've really got to work that out into your program, because otherwise it's just going to really be very difficult. So when you think about it, you go out for dinner, you're with the most unbelievable people that you love in your life, they're your best friends in the world. You're out with them, you're enjoying their company, you haven't seen them for a couple of months, you go out but you have the worst meal ever. The food is not great, but you've been with the people you love the most. Are you still going to have a good night? Absolutely you will. But what about when you go out to a restaurant and the food is fabulous, but the people you're with are the most boring buggers in the world? Like these people, you've got nothing in common with them. It's like pulling a tooth to talk to them, yet the food is fabulous. Are you going to come home and say you've had a great night? No. So what that tells me is that going out to dinner is not just about the food. It's about the enjoyment of the company you've had. If you're out celebrating as a special occasion, it's all about embracing that. So don't put food at the top of your list. So I think that's really important, that we really work out why we're going out and the fact that we're going to do it often. So it's not like the Last Supper. So there's my do's and don'ts for dining out. So I hope that's helped you. Now, I want to get into the takeaway choices. We've got about 20 minutes left. So we've got plenty of time here, and if there's any questions, as I said, don't worry. But can I just spend a couple of minutes talking to you about my next event, which is happening Friday week. I'm so excited I could just scream right now. I think I will. We are so buzzed about this retreat. Now, I've got about 6 seats left, 6 places left, and then it'll be sold out. So if you've been thinking about it, don't. Just do it. Because I've never known anyone to come to this retreat and not come away saying it was the best 3 days, best money spent, best time spent, and they've come away with some really good, solid tools to take with them to break through what they need to be the healthy person. And this will tell you we've got quite a few people coming back from last year's retreat, not because they feel like that they haven't succeeded, but they've succeeded so well that they feel quite different from the last time they were at the retreat, and they want to come in now and do the 3 days on the level of fabulousness that they're at now. We've had some fantastic weight loss results. And so also people that need to come to learn how to maintain their weight. There's people there at their goal weight, but they're struggling with how to stay there, and they're scared about that. So we look at both aspects. I'm looking at a lifestyle change for you, and I'm going to work my hardest for 3 days to give you everything that I can so you can be totally empowered. So when you leave me on the Sunday afternoon, and we'll all cry because we all get to love each other to death, you're going to feel like you can conquer whatever it is that you need to. If it's weight loss, maintenance, just wanting to be healthier, but you'll get so much more than that because you'll leave with self-esteem like you've never had before. You will, I think what everyone does is we all fall in love with ourselves a little bit at the retreat. And that's not a vain thing by looking in the mirror and saying, oh God, you're gorgeous. I'm talking about that inner core love that often we don't really give ourselves. We give it to everybody but ourselves, which is very much a nurturing thing that we do, especially women are shocking for that. So I would say to you right now, don't wait. We will be sold out this week. So I want you to think about whether or not you can afford not to attend this retreat. If you are struggling with your weight, if your health is not good, give this gift to yourself of these 3 magnificent days, and I will guarantee to you that you won't regret it. Not only do we have all these sessions that are so empowering, and we've been going through the workbook over the last couple of days, getting it all ready, and I'm excited about what you're going to experience. But what I love as well is not only will I be doing it, my speakers that I've got in, the guest speakers and presenters that are coming in are unbelievable. I've handpicked them because they, to me, are the very best at what they do. Not only will we have a dietitian there, a psychologist, you'll have a art therapist there, you'll have a spiritual woman there doing a beautiful meditation on the Saturday afternoon. You will have success stories to listen to. You'll have so many things that will empower you to be the best you can be. I'm not going to go on any more about it because I really want to get on to the takeaways. But can I just say to you, think very hard before you miss this, because this is the only 3-day workshop that I will be running for 2012. So I hope to meet you because we're all going to have such a blast, and I just can't wait for it. I'm so pumped and excited. Okay, so let's talk about the next part, the final part of our session tonight. I hope you're comfortable and enjoying everything. It's about takeaways. Now, this is another way of eating out, isn't it? Because maybe we're going to eat out at the beach, or at a park or something like that, but we're also going to bring it home, but we haven't prepared it ourselves. So I'm going to give you a next makeover of some of the most favourite takeaways that we love. So get ready. Let's start with Chinese and Thai. Now, these are probably the top choices. This is, Chinese and Thai are probably the #1 takeaway choice for a lot of people. I've got some suggestions for you. How can we make this healthy for you? First of all, avoid anything that's on that menu that's battered and deep fried, like the chicken and plum sauce, those type of things. The problem with the battering is that it means it's deep fried, lots and lots of calories, lots of fat, but also probably the quality of the meat under it is not that great either. I always ask, is it battered? Please ask, because anyone healthy shouldn't be eating that. A simple one to give you as a tip is go away from the rice being fried and just have plain rice. If your dinner is going to be good enough, and if Chinese and Thai, they normally got lots of flavours in it, you don't need the fried rice as well. The main meal should be flavoursome enough without adding that and confusing all those flavours with the rice. So don't have fried, just have boiled rice. And admittedly, you're going to save at least 12 grams of fat just by doing that. Now, I just want to reflect back on a question that's come in from Yvonne. Are antipasto platters okay for a starter? Look, you know what? They're very high in fat antipasto platters because often the olives, the artichokes and the sun-dried tomatoes and the eggplant and those type of things that go with that are all laced with oil. So I think you need to be very careful about the antipasto platters. Lots and lots of fat. Hello, Narelle. Lovely to see you on. Now let's go to the third tip, and I have to cough. Hold on. Coconut cream-based meals. Now this is Thai that we're talking about here. This is not Chinese. Thai would be my favourite takeaway. Can I just say that straight up? If I go anywhere and I'm on tour, the choices that I will make will either be grilled fish or Thai. But I never really order the ones in the coconut cream. And often that's the, green curries and things like that, the Penangs, really high in fat. So I always go for dishes that are in a clean sauce opposed to a white sauce. Now, the next one I want to talk about is the good old favourite for us Aussies, and that's fish and chips. Now, who doesn't love a good fish and chip? And so what I do is I always order it grilled. And I think that's the key, once again. Grilled fish is your friend. And the great thing is that most takeaway places now will do the grilled fish for you. You don't have to have it deep fried. So, you know, be strong, go for grilled, forget fried. Now, if you want to work out how can I have the lowest fat chips, the best way to do that is to order the thick cut chips. So I've actually worked out a couple of the takeaway places around here. We don't have fish and chips very often at all, I must admit, not very often. But I always go for the place that does the thick ones, not the really thin ones. You know, like the ones you get in those hamburger joints that have got the golden arches, the really thin chips. They are really high in fat because they are coated more with fat than the fat chips. So that's the key to it. Now, someone's asked about the rice. How much rice should I have, Laura? Well, when you're out at a restaurant and you're having or you get a takeaway home, for weight loss, have a half a cup of rice, and for maintenance for a woman, about 3/4 a cup of rice. For a man, losing weight, 3/4 a cup of rice and a cup when they're on maintenance. And this is really important because rice is a carb. You don't need a lot of it, but certainly you do. It's nice to have to soak up the sauce. Once again, it's about moderation, and that's the best thing there. Okay, the next one we've got is hamburgers. Now, I love hamburgers, and in most of my books you'll find a hamburger in one of them because I just love them so much. The best thing here is to avoid the drive-through ones. You know the ones I talked about with those golden arches? Forget about them, but go for more. They're a traditional Aussie burger. You know, the one that's made with mince. You know, that's not a processed patty, because I think it's just a healthier option. I don't know. I just think it's more real. What I do is I always ask for lots of salad with my hamburger. You know, can you pack on the salad? And I never order a burger with bacon, eggs, cheese, you know, all those extras. There's enough protein in the hamburger, guys. It's enough. You don't need to add more. And I'm just going to reflect back because Christine's asked a good question, is brown rice better? Do you know what? The best rice to have is basmati. Christine, that is the lower GI rice. When you're cooking at home, that's the one. But when you're out, I don't think it really matters too much what rice it is. But I do think at home, go with the basmati. And Marguerite, pineapple with a burger? Yeah, why not? It's not going to hurt you as much as the egg or the bacon or the cheese. Lots of fats, too many proteins, forget it. Now we're going to go to pizza. Pizza's a really popular choice for a lot of people. And you know what? I could count on my one hand the amount of commercially bought pizzas that I have eaten in the 19 years that I've been in my goal weight, because we make them at home. I love homemade pizzas. But for those of you who want to get it when they're out and about, I'm going to give you a makeover on it. Like I've done with all the others, I'm going to do it with pizza. So go for a thin base opposed to a thick base. That is much healthier, lower in fat, lower in carbs, thin base, better choice. Avoid the fatty meat options like the meat lover pizza, because I'll have on it, you know, I'll have the salami and cabanossi and God knows what. They're just so fatty, the meats that they choose for that, that is something that I wouldn't put as an option when I'm ordering pizza at all. What I do, and when I've had it occasionally, is I've said to them, can you put half the cheese on the pizza than you normally put on? And they're happy to do it. See, this is, once again, tell people what you want. Because you're paying for it, you're the one that's going to eat it, so why shouldn't you have it the way you want it? So I ask for half the cheese, and what I do add on my pizza is as many vegetables as they can put on it. And that way it bulks it up. You know, yes, have a little bit of protein on it if you want some chicken or prawns or a little bit of the meat, but don't just have cheese and meat on your pizza. Add lots and lots of vegetables if you can. Next one, and it's the last one in my, and it's makeover, is Indian. Yes, look at that. Probably the worst one of them all. Indian is something that I very rarely ever go out and eat because I know what I'm going to face when I get there and look at that menu. What I'm going to be looking at is high-fat food with not much to offer. Yes, Indian food tastes amazing, but what I've done is make them at home. For example, my Indian butter what is it? Butter chicken in book 4 is awesome. Now, normally butter chicken at an Indian restaurant, 40, 50 grams of fat easy. When you do it my way, it's 4.5 grams of fat. So I never go out to have it. I'll think of other ways to do it. Judith said, I am safe, I don't eat Indian food. You know what, Judith? Good choice. I don't want to be mean to Indian restaurants, but the problem with them is they're full of fat. Like my tikka chicken in book 6, as I mentioned early on in the piece, another awesome one. You can see the picture there. I've got it of the tikka chicken there with the pompadons. I just do them in the microwave, serve the basmati rice with it. I'm a happy gal. Yeah, so now what else we've got to worry about with Indian is that they base a lot of their cooking on ghee, which is a very, it's a butter. It's just a sort of a cheaper version of butter. So lots of that in it. Lots of cream, and the secret ingredients in a lot of these Indian food is the crushed cashews. So what they do is they ground the cashews into a paste type thing, and then they fold that through with the cream and the butter, which is why the sauce often can have such a beautiful taste, because it's just got all these fatty ingredients. So our taste buds like that sort of stuff. But afterwards, you're going to be sick as a dog. You're going to just feel so unhealthy, and there's going to be a great big zit on the end of your nose the next day because of the high-fat food you've eaten. And I'm not happy about it because, you know what, it doesn't show. It doesn't say in there crushed cashews, so you don't know it. The next one's really good. Avoid the ones that have got the really fatty meat in it. And it's often Indian food is they use the thigh meat. They will use a cheaper cut of meat in Indian, and they very little vegetables. Like whereas a Thai dish, which I just love, the core ingredients in it will be vegetables, whereas in Indian it's often just the meat and the sauce that are the main ingredients. Sorry if you love Indian, I'm really giving you a hard time here, aren't I, guys? High in salt. Remember we talked about avoiding the dishes that are high in salt. A lot of salt goes in Indian food, and of course they have the fried bread as well. It's shocking. All I can say is Indian is for those that want to eat and get fat. Go for it. I'm a healthy person. I don't go near it. Diane's laughing over here because she loves Indian, and I've beaten it out of her, I can tell you, since she's been working with me. So there's my choices. I mean, there's a few other ones that we could do. Oh, someone just come on now. The salmon risotto, you love that, Christine, thank you. Now, risotto, when you have it out at a restaurant, can often be quite high in fat because the chefs will put a lot of butter, a lot of oil in it, a lot of salt, a lot of Parmesan cheese. So, even though it's rice-based, it can be quite high in fat. The other ones that I want to just if I can just have a little recap about restaurant choices. Chicken Parmigiana, chicken Kievs, all those, really high in fat. Not good choices. Go with your grilled meats with the sauces on the side, your chicken, maybe your fish, that type of thing. Seafood. Now, we haven't really talked about seafood, so I want to just finish with a little bit of tips on the seafood. Now, a lot of people worry that prawns are a high cholesterol food, but if you're eating prawns only every now and then, it's not a problem. Once again, it's about how much you have it. If you've got a high cholesterol, you've got diabetes, every now and then is not going to be a big deal. But if you're having prawns once a week, and if you are, you're probably very rich because they're expensive, but it's really not going to be a problem to your health. I always think that with seafood, keep it as clean as possible. Don't be smothering it in lots of ingredients. I love garlic prawns, and that was one of the first things that I wanted to make low fat, and it's in book 1, where I use the evaporated light milk instead of cream and the garlic and that. It is fabulous. And you know what? It tastes exactly what you'd expect garlic prawns to taste like. Fish is a good omega-3, omega-6s, the salmon, someone was mentioning the salmon before, beautiful, healthy food for our body. It's brilliant, great. Just, make sure that the sauces are served on the side, or you just have them grilled and they're fine. Now, the other thing that I would think about with seafood is look at, as I said, keeping it natural. Like, oysters are pretty good, but then if you have the oyster mornay over it, really, chefs love to make that mornay sauce as fatty as they can. And you don't want seafood fried. You don't want it crumbed and deep fried, because all you're going to taste is fat. I always think where you're living or where you're at the time. If I'm up in North Queensland, I live off barramundi because it's probably the best barramundi you'll ever get. I remember I had in Victoria butterfish. It was one of the nicest fish I've ever had. No butter on it. It was just called that. Is anyone from Victoria there? Do you have butterfish still? It was a few years ago, but I still remember how beautiful it was. Think about the local regions of what they have to offer and go with that. Yes, we've got a few butterfish here. It is good, isn't it? We don't get it in Queensland. So, think about embracing the healthy choices with the menu. Just take your time with your menu. And you know what I've done in the past? I've actually gone online, gone to their website, because websites are everywhere now for restaurants, and had a look at the menu. Before I booked the place, I've looked at it to see if there's something there that's suitable for me to order, because I want to make sure I'm all right, because everyone else, I know they'll find heaps that they can order, but I'm such a fussy bugger that I want to make sure when I go out that I'm not going to blow out. I want to be able to eat food that's nice. I want to pay for food that I'm going to enjoy. So I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. And I just think all we need to do now is say farewell. It's fantastic to have been with you for this hour. Don't forget, next time, and I'm going to go to these questions in a second, next month the webinar is on menu planning and motivation for weight loss. Now, unfortunately, we had to cancel this last month due to an unforeseen circumstance, which was not a big deal. It wasn't a problem really, it wasn't bad, but we just couldn't do it. I'm going to do that next month leading into Easter. The menu planning is, you mustn't miss this, guys. I hope you found this valuable about the dining out, but menu planning is a work of art. It's not something that's super easy, and I'm going to talk you through it so you've got some really good strategies and plans. So sign up and we'll remind you when it gets closer to it. So if you think about it today, go in and sign up for next month's webinar. Remember, they're free. This is my gift to you guys. I love doing it. Gail's already signed up for it. That's fantastic. Tell people about this. I want this to become a monthly event where we can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people together thinking healthy for an hour and getting themselves set. So if we can just go back quickly before I finish up. We've got just a couple of minutes. Those questions, some people sent some questions through beforehand, which I thought was really brilliant. And Belinda from Victoria said, what are the best choices to have when you're out with a friend for coffee and cake? And I know Diane in the office was really interested in this question. I know you're listening, Diane. What I would suggest you do is, when I went out for coffee and cake with a friend, I would order something that didn't have icing on it. Often it would be a muffin or a scone, and I just have a little bit of jam with it. But sometimes what I would do is just have this skinny cappuccino, because I found that that was enough for me, with a little bit of the chocolate on the top and the froth, you know what I mean? So maybe this is where you start to reprogram the unhealthy you, Belinda, because I know you're on tonight, and think about, when you go out to a friend, does it have to be a coffee and cake? Can it just be a decaf coffee or herbal tea? And just enjoy the company of your friend. And maybe tell the friend not to order so you don't look sad when she's eating a cake. You will be better off for it, but as I say, anything that's got no icing on it so much, anything that's got maybe just sort of light, but like a scone or a light muffin would be good. When in doubt, should I order a salad? Sue from Cairns. Yes, if you want to, like I went out to lunch on Saturday and I just had a salad. But be aware that all those mayonnaises and dressings that they put on them in the restaurants or at the cafes can often mean that the salad's high in fat, like the Caesar salad. So when in doubt, yes, maybe if you can get a low-fat salad, or a soup that's not with cream base is another safe one. Probably a bit more safer, the soup, than the salad sometimes. But if they haven't got lots of dressing on it, then that's a great way to go. Finally, the last question quickly. My family loves to go to buffets, but I find I overeat too much. Can you offer some tips? Jeanette, the best thing you can do at a buffet is sit with your back to it. Don't be looking at that buffet because you know you're going to want to get up and go and eat everything. Sit with your back to it. Go only up once to the buffet for the main meal stuff. And I always have a quick look at the dessert menu that they've got on display, and then I get my husband or my friend who's with me and just get me one little thing to have. I don't go near it because if I do, I'm going to have a bit of everything, and I don't want to do it. It's called about taking control, being in charge of the food you eat, being the boss, and you come out the winner. Still had a great night. I haven't had to cook, had the company of friends. Don't use eating out as the excuse to blow out. Thanks everybody for joining me. It's been an absolute delight. I hope you've got something from it. Love to hear any feedback you've got. Don't forget to find me on my website, simplytoogood.com.au, where you can find out more about the retreat, which is next week, guys. Sign up. Also, you'll see me on Twitter and also on Facebook, where it's Simply Too Good. That's where you can join me every day, where I give an inspirational thought for the day. I know a lot of people start their day with my thought, which is awesome. And if you've got any thoughts of what you'd like to have on the webinar, we'd be very interested in any topics that you really feel you need to know about. I love all the comments. Thanks for everybody. Thank you for your thank yous. I love that. You've been the little voice guiding me next time when I eat out. That's great, Laura. And just imagine that I am watching you over the shoulder saying, Laura, you don't really want that, do you, doll? All right, guys, take care, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye now.